Hey guys, so I had the opportunity to play the Nimzowitsch Sicilian in an over the board tournament game. Last weekend, I played in a tournament here in Nebraska. It was called a Hall of Fame celebration. It was a tournament they put together to celebrate Nebraska's chess heritage, which is actually pretty interesting. But today I want to focus on this game. I had black in round three. My opponent was named Jacob Wagner, who I believe his rating is 2046 USCF. Um, so going to the game, I knew he was an E4 player. I was a little nervous to play the Nimzowitsch Sicilian because obviously I've been out there hyping my course. All my preparation is in the course for anyone to see, and it can be a bit of a risky opening if your opponent knows what's coming. But I also have a 1 month old. I don't have a lot of spare time, and having just put together the course, recorded the videos, answered a bunch of questions, the lines are at least fresh in my mind. So that was what I was planning to use for this game. So e4, c5, knight f3, knight f6. I do go into the Nimzowitsch Sicilian, and he does play e5, the sharpest line, chasing the knight away. Knight d5, knight c3. So he is following the main line. He was playing somewhat fast, not instantly, but it seemed he was sort of pausing each move perhaps to remember his lines and then playing them pretty quickly. As you know, if you study the course, taking this knight is quite dangerous, with white getting open lines to develop these pieces very quickly. So I recommend e6, and that's what I played. He took d4, still playing pretty quickly, still following the main line. So I was starting to think, maybe he's prepared something for this game, but I just followed my own preparation. Knight c6, d takes c5, bishop takes c5, queen takes d5, d6. And actually at this point on this move, he thought for quite some time, maybe 15 minutes. So I was thinking maybe he's not so prepared for this after all. And after the game, we discussed it a little bit, and he did tell me that his preparation was only for queen b6. And this is sort of the alternative move for black. And there's a line here that goes bishop c4, bishop takes f2 check, king e2, castles, rook f1, bishop c5, knight g5. And here, white's king is in the center, but white has a strong initiative, clearly exerting a lot of pressure on f7. So black has to play knight d4 check, and then retreat this knight to e6 to block that. And this is a whole line. There's some theory here. It's a wild position. You can research that if you want to, but personally, I don't like to be attacked like this. So that was why for this course, my recommendation is d6, offering another pawn to get this light squared bishop into the game more quickly. And apparently that took my opponent by surprise. He did take queen b6, and again thought for quite some time here and played bishop c4. This is a very intuitive, natural move. If white's not prepared here, I faced this at least once in blitz, probably multiple times. But it's not the best move in this position. According to the theory, white's best try for an advantage seems to be queen e4 check, bishop e6, queen h4. So actually defending f2 via this sort of weird backwards queen maneuver. And then this is in the course. Black plays bishop d6. Black had sacrificed 2 pawns, so white is still up a pawn here. However, black does have a lead in development. So I cover this position in the course in some more detail. But basically, the engine thinks white has an edge, but it seems to be pretty playable for black. But I think, investing 2 moves, this is quite an unusual maneuver to sort of go back and sideways with the queen. And even if you see this idea, it's not easy to go for, because, for instance, what if black plays knight b4 and just spending all these tempi on your queen to save that pawn? I don't think it's not an easy idea to find or to go for. And in the game, my opponent did play bishop c4. So bishop takes f2 check, king f1, and now castles. This is sort of the last critical move. We're still in a line that's covered in the course, so I knew this. And this is an important move because defending f7 and getting the king to safety, and this is relying on a little tactic of d7. This is not good for white. Black can just take rook a d8. The rook is coming down and then across black is winning. So castle is a good move. It's also, whenever you play something over the board, you start asking yourself these questions. Like, for instance, why can't I play bishop e6 here? Seems quite a natural move, hitting the queen, defending f7, gaining a tempo. But I think the reason why is d7 check. And this is pretty disruptive. If I take that, then queen takes f7 check. But any king move is going to allow some other annoying checks. For instance, queen d6 check, the queen saves itself with tempo, and then bishop takes e6 is going to come. Or king d8, then maybe bishop g5 check, and if I play f6, my bishop on e6 would hang again. So I think this is the issue with bishop e6. I should check that with the engine, though. And a larger point about studying the opening, those same type of questions that you ask yourself over the board, the more you can push yourself to ask those questions when you're preparing the opening, the better. So I would say the two questions I think about: why and what if. Why do I play this, and what if I do this, or what if they do this, something different? The more you ask those questions and explore them when you're preparing, you're going to be ready for a lot more. Your opening preparation is going to be a lot richer and more useful. So it's difficult to tap into that state of mind that you have over the board when you're just studying, but the more you can do it, the more useful the preparation. Anyway, I castled, and he plays knight g5. I think this is another step in the wrong direction. He's still kind of trying to attack, but the reality at this point is white's king has been forced to move, and black is starting to get ahead in development. So white should probably be thinking about kind of consolidating and just staying alive here. I'm not really sure what white's supposed to play. I think the engine says that if white really plays this perfectly, it's still equal, but I think white's in a lot of danger with that king on f1. So knight g5, attacking f7 again, but this is kind of overextending, and I played the move bishop e6. So I like that. I mean, this move has a lot going for it. I'm developing an undeveloped piece with tempo. I'm neutralizing white's bishop on c4, which is probably his strongest piece. And I like this point that I'm allowing white to take a pawn with check, but if he does this king is exposed on the open f file. My other rook is coming in, and white is totally dead here. So I like that point that I can allow him to take the pawn with check, but actually that would be winning for me. So bishop e6, a pleasing move for a lot of reasons, but in fact, objectively not the best move. Actually, bishop h4 is threatening mate in 1, and white has a few ways to deal with this, but it turns out none of them really work at all. So for example, g3 takes bishop h3, and this crossfire here flushes white's king out into the center. And from here, it's just going to be a king hunt. For example, rook a e8 check, king d1. I mean, white is definitely lost with the king running around. But for example, queen takes b2, and black has this threatening bishop g4, queen a1. White is totally toast here. So g3 is no good. Knight e4. In this case, I can go back to bishop e6, and if queen d3, then knight e5, double attack. What else can white try to defend mate? If queen f3, there's this nice move, queen c5, attacking two things. White can't defend both. So apparently white's only way to sort of stay equal in material is this queen d2, but I mean, obviously blocking the bishop is not good, and the engine's top line goes knight e5, hitting the bishop, queen f4, knight g6, hitting the queen and defending my bishop. Queen d2 has to go back. And in this position, white has managed to hold on to his material for the moment, but black's getting farther and farther ahead in development. White's king is exposed. The bishop has blocked him. This is a winning position for black. So as nice as this bishop e6 move looked, I kind of missed a chance to really just win the game on the spot with bishop h4, but the game continues, and I still have a good position here. So check. Important that this move is checked, because if not, queen takes h7 would be mate. But it is checked. White does have to capture that to get out of check. Rook a8, so I'm bringing another rook into the game and threatening mate in 1. Obviously, this rook is staying here to keep f7 guarded. Bishop f4, and now I played bishop h4, taking advantage of the fact that this file is now blocked. g3, traded, and here I played, well, for a moment I was tempted to take that pawn on b2, but actually a weakness of mine that I've noticed in blitz games is sometimes I get distracted grabbing pawns when I should be playing to checkmate the king, and that's exactly the case here. White's king is open, white is lacking development, so it's no time to get distracted by a pawn. We're hunting a bigger game than that. So I correctly played knight e5, hitting the queen and bringing my knight over towards the enemy king. Queen d5, knight g4, threatening, of course, mate in 1. You know, I don't know if I've ever threatened mate in 1 so many times in a game. And I feel like it's kind of a bad sign for white's position. Like, I mean, a threat in and of itself is its answer doesn't do anything. But if your opponent is one move away from checkmate, move after move after move, it's probably not a great sign for your position. My opponent played king g2, which is, you know, very risky, allowing my pieces to invade and chase his king around. But he didn't really have any good choices here. For example, if queen f3, then queen b5 check, just picking off this bishop. LPDO, loose pieces drop off. This bishop in enemy territory exposed and undefended. That's what we mean by a loose piece. That's a target for tactics, especially if the king is also exposed like this. Let's see, queen d2. I believe my plan here was simply queen c6, hitting this rook in the corner. And if rook g1, I'm just coming in with a checkmate. Yeah, just not really a lot of good ways for white to defend this. Let's see, queen f5 I could also play. I think queen c6 also works here. And knight takes h2 check. So basically, white doesn't have a good response to this. So king g2 here, and I did take some time on this move because, you know, I have a lot of appealing options. Queen f2 check, rook e2 check, but I was actually struggling a bit to find like a clean win, which is kind of what you want in a position like this. You want to just calculate that clean win that ends the game. So this is actually, if you want to pause it, this is a good exercise. Although, if I was assigning this as a coach, the way I would do this is use it as a play it out exercise. So I would take white and have someone play it out as black, or have to pair two people together, because in fact black has many good options here, but the challenge really is, can you stay on top of all the lines and maintain control of the game and make sure you win? Because unlike a traditional puzzle, there's not just one solution here, but in a game, you know, it can be, the lines start to get fuzzy in your head. It can be a little confusing. Anyways, I think I spent some time, and I think I did find the cleanest forcing line to end the game. Although, perhaps I could have played a bit more quickly and more practically, and just, you know, there's several ways to keep a winning attack. But in this position, I did actually, the game ended in mate, and I actually saw the mate from here. So, rook e5, hitting the queen and bishop. Queen d2, that's the only way for white to keep the bishop defended. Queen c6 check, and this flushes white's king out to h3, because if king g1, again, queen c5 check, another double attack that picks up the bishop. King h3, rook takes g5, so I'm defending my knight, white has to take, but then knight f2 check, and this is the point, is that since my queen is blocking the king's retreat, the king is flushed out. Now I could just take that rook in the corner, and that's probably winning, but with my knight in the corner and white having that advance past d pawn, maybe it's not so simple, although I guess it should be winning for black. But I wanted a really clean way to end the game, and I did manage to find it with f6. And this was the important point I had to see. H6 is not as strong, for a reason we're about to see. Queen f5. If queen f4, g5 check. If queen e3 or anywhere else along that diagonal, queen c4 check, and my queen is coming over along the fourth rank. So queen f5, but g5 check, and then this was why it was important to play f6. Queen e8 check, knight g4 check, diverting the queen, and queen g6 checkmate was the end. My opponent actually played it out on the board to mate, which was a gracious move on his part. Of course, he saw that coming. So I got a mate. Definitely my best game of the tournament, and I think gave me a lot of confidence in the Nimzowitsch Sicilian. I was a little worried to play it, but it worked out beautifully. Even though my opponent did know some theory, he didn't know the exact line that I was going for. I got a really nice position and got to play a really exciting attacking game. So if you're using the opening or you're using the course, I hope you have a good experience like this.